public transport and transport links seem to be one of the common issues for all of you when discussing what is critical for delivering on our national housing targets. And a lot of housing development seems to be focused on those areas, which is probably in the urban areas that's happening. But can I ask your thoughts of the importance maybe of investment in rail services for smaller towns and in rural Ireland again? I mean, in my own county, in County Clare, we've Crusheen, and we're looking for a train station there for a lot of years, but unfortunately that don't seem to be happening. Would you think if the government did look at investing money into that infrastructure, could it drive on development in more of the rural parts around the Crusheen catchment area?
I think the one thing we would see is national infrastructure being rolled out, be it roads, be it rail, are critical to housing delivery. I think if you were, and I don't know the specific example, but if you were to look at the Navan rail line that's been announced, there'll be a number of towns that will be caught in that delivery, which will bring on more housing across the board. And I suppose there has been a change out there in the last 6 months, and we see live examples of it where there probably was an element where rural towns were down the hierarchy so much, and there was no available land in it, there was no available services. You're certainly seeing a change out there with the local authorities that there's a recognition to rejuvenate a lot of these smaller communities and allow housing to happen. Even for examples of supporting the smaller school, those schools have no longer got pupils going to them, and they're being disused. So there's an acceptance of that. There's a sea change in that, and we're seeing it out there. Obviously, it'll take time to happen. But the more infrastructure you deliver, the more housing you can deliver, because naturally enough, rail will open up vast swathes of ground. And Michael can talk to you better about the dart side.
From our perspective, we're beginning to look beyond the major urban centre of Dublin and the East Coast, and we're looking at smaller settlements now. Traditionally, our policy has been to focus development around key transport nodes. The reasons for that are that there's greater demand there for our products, and there tends to be the infrastructure that's required to deliver housing in those locations. But we're definitely beginning to look at that. Whether we'll get as far as County Clare or not remains to be seen. But if you can organise a train station,
well, I can see it in Clare myself in 6 Mile Bridge.
Yeah,
there is a train station there, and the amount of development has gone on there over the last 10 years is something unreal. And now it's come to a situation you can't actually hardly get through 6 Mile Bridge with the amount of traffic and the amount of people that has moved in there. And if that could be looked at in other rural villages and towns, more so other rural towns, it would bring investment into the area, and it would bring people back in to the area. And exactly what you said, some schools are just on their feet with numbers and that. People are moving into the urban areas, and unfortunately the rural areas are suffering because of it.
As a Mayo man, it's great to see the conversation shifting towards the west, but I 100% agree that if we're going to hit our numbers and hit our targets, we need to encourage infrastructure in outside the Greater Dublin area. And for example, the Western Rail Corridor is crucial for that area. If you look at what's going on with Galway is choked with traffic, and the outer ring road now has another judicial review, so that's going to take years. But the solution for all of that area is encouraging the rail corridor, creating hub. At least then you have you have something that you can sell, you have something that encourages employment, and that'll drive on housing in those areas.
We to get the investment, HBFI are fantastic in that they've gone into the regions, and that will put competitive tension into the pillar banks as well, which is needed, because that's the only way we can get the local SMEs working, because they haven't been able to. The only thing they've been able to build previously was social housing, where there was a guaranteed exit, and it does need time to build up their equity, because obviously and viability, which is starting now to roll out into the regional towns. And to make a point, there's quite a number of examples. Like if you look at places like Middleton, Carrigtwohill, where there was a railway put in, the investment was put in years ago, but the dividends are being paid today. I suppose the government needs to be, progressive in bringing forward railways to key urban areas and connecting the towns in between, and also looking at at the public transport as in bus Éireann, because we can't put rails everywhere, but we can get the buses to move, and that connects people. And if you can connect people, to take the point, the reality is we have towns where we have the infrastructure and we need to use them as well, because they actually will give regional Ireland better, I suppose, because there's no doubt there's a problem with population being shifted into bigger urban areas, and we do need balanced regional development as well.